Growing up in the village, I always thought the stories about the old school were just that, stories. People said it was cursed, that something terrible happened there years ago when it burned down. But I never believed in curses. That is, until the night I learned the truth myself. It all started on a stormy night. The kind where the wind howls through the trees and the power flickers just enough to make you uneasy. I was in bed, trying to sleep, when I heard it. Rajib, Rajib. At first I thought it was part of a dream, but when the voice came again, clearer and closer, I knew it wasn't. I sat up, my heart pounding, and looked around. My room was dark, shadows dancing across the walls as lightning flashed outside, but nothing seemed out of place. Then, I heard a sound, the faint rustling of paper coming from outside my window. Curious and a little unnerved, I got up and peeked through the wooden shutters. The night was dense, the wind carrying leaves and debris across the yard. And that's when I saw it, a piece of paper lying just outside the door. I hesitated but eventually stepped outside, the cold wind biting against my skin. The letter was old, crumpled, and written in red ink. It simply said, "Come to the school at 3 a.m. You've been chosen." Chosen? For what? A chill ran down my spine, but at the same time, something about the letter felt alive. I should have ignored it. I know that now. But that night I didn't. I couldn't. As the clock struck 3 a.m., I found myself walking toward the abandoned school. The village was dead silent, the kind of quiet that makes your footsteps sound unnaturally loud. The school loomed ahead, half hidden by the mist. Its walls were cracked and covered in vines, and the windows were broken, with shards of glass reflecting the pale moonlight. The metal gate creaked as I pushed it open, and every instinct told me to turn back. But I didn't. I reached the door. It was slightly ajar. A faint orange glow spilled out from inside, casting eerie shadows on the ground. I stepped in, and the smell hit me first. Ash, decay, and something metallic, like blood. The hallway stretched out before me, lined with rusted lockers and broken furniture. The floor was cracked, and the walls were covered in faded, peeling posters. A flickering bulb above me buzzed faintly, casting the hallway in intermittent light. And then, I heard it, a sound like nails scratching against wood, followed by a faint, distant whisper, "Rajib, Rajib." My legs felt heavy, but something drew me deeper into the school. As I walked, the temperature dropped. My breath came out in visible puffs, and the air felt thick, suffocating. Suddenly, I heard the sharp screech of a chair being dragged across the floor. I turned toward one of the classrooms. The door was open, and inside I saw something. At first, it was just a shadow near the blackboard, moving in strange, unnatural ways. But as I stared, the shadow began to take form. A figure, charred and skeletal, its eyes glowing like embers. The figure stood motionless for a moment before it turned toward me. Its mouth didn't move, but I heard its voice, deep and guttural, echoing in my head. "Why have you come here? You shouldn't have come." I wanted to run, but my legs felt like they were rooted to the spot. The figure pointed toward the blackboard, where words had appeared, glowing faintly in the darkness. "I am Rinjoy. They burned me alive, but I am still here." Before I could react, the figure began to move toward me, its body leaving a trail of ash and smoke. The air around it shimmered with heat, and its voice filled my mind again. "You will carry my curse. You will never escape." In sheer panic, I stumbled backward, tripping over a broken desk and falling hard onto the floor. That's when I saw it, an old, rusted tin box lying beneath the desk. I grabbed it and opened it with shaking hands. Inside were papers covered in strange symbols, symbols that seemed to glow faintly, pulsing like they were alive. Without thinking, I began to read the words aloud. The symbols felt unnatural in my mouth, but I kept going, The figure let out a deafening scream, its body writhing as it began to disintegrate into ash. The ground beneath me shook violently, and before I knew it, everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the wet grass outside the school. The first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon, and the school stood silent and still, as if nothing had happened. I stumbled home, my mind racing. For a moment, I thought it was over, just a bad dream. But when I washed my face, I noticed something, a mark on my hand. It was a burnt scar, shaped like the symbols I had read. It pulsed faintly, almost as if it were alive. And then I heard it again, faint but unmistakable. Rajib, Rajib. Even now, I can't escape the feeling that something followed me home that night. Some nights, when the wind howls and the village grows quiet, I still hear whispers. And I know it's not over.